Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the AI Interconnect podcast, where we dive deep into conversation with the people building the future of pop tech. And I'm your host, Laurent. Today, I'm joined by someone who is no stranger to shaking things up in property management, Pete Neubig, co-founder and CEO of VPM Solutions, and Pete has built a platform that's changing how property managers find and work with virtual talent. And Pete, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Laurent. Appreciate the time.
Fantastic. That's going to be fun. Uh, Pete, let's start with uh, with your journey before VPN solution and before the CEO title. What's your story?
Yeah, so well, I'm in Texas right now. I'm originally from New York, and here in the United States, we're always taught go get good grades in school, then go to a good college, and then go get a good job. And I got okay grades. I went to an okay school, and I got an okay job. And I was kind of living my life as an IT professional for about 20 years, and just realized, man, there's just something more than what I'm meant for more. And I would drive into the office every day, and I would tell my wife, I'm like, just a piece of me is dying every day. And I'm like, I think I need to do something different. And at the time, it's the early 2000s, I started buying a lot of property, a lot of investment property here in Texas. And what happened was we needed to manage those properties. And so I created a management company. And then we started third party managing those properties. So finally, I'm like, I think this might have some legs. I think I can start a management firm. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about business. So I actually hired a business coach before I quit my job to help me with the new business. And every day, the new business, which became Empire Industries Property Management, that business was taking more and more of my life away from my regular job. First, it took my lunches, then it took like my nights, then it took my weekends, and then it was started taking time from the company I was working for. So I decided to finally leave and jump into being an entrepreneur. And the first year was really difficult. I think I paid myself $1,000 a month in US, which that's 12,000 a year if we do the math. And I was making 112,000 a year in my other job. So I left 100 grand on the table the first year, but we had lived our lives. My wife and I lived our lives. We didn't have a lot of debt. Our house was paid for. We didn't have any children. So, I talked to a buddy of mine. He's like, if not you, who? If not now, when? And so I just decided we're going to jump in, do it. And I was a real estate agent and a broker. I had to become a real estate agent to manage properties. So I slung real estate on the side to kind of make up for the difference. And I worked, 80, 90-hour weeks for 2, 3 years to build that business. Fast forward, we started that business in about 2012, sold it in 2019 to a venture capital backed firm, took a job with them, and I had more money in my pocket. I was getting paid more than I ever paid myself. I had more money in the bank, and I was more miserable than ever before. And I just realized that just working for somebody else and just being in a cog in a big company was just not what motivated me. And it might motivate other people out there, and they might, there's nothing wrong with that, but it just was not meant for me. So it took about 18 months and I left, and I started building. So I sold in 19. In 2020, I came up with the concept with my co-founder, Ross Gilbert, on the idea of VPM Solutions. And the reason why we decided to create VPM was when I owned Empire, I used virtual talent in Mexico mainly to help find great people and reduce our overall costs. When you run a service based business, your number one cost is people. Number two used to be used to be this thing called an office. Since COVID, a lot of people don't have them anymore. A matter of fact, VPM runs totally virtually. My office is my house. So we decided, like, hey, let's create a concept that's going to help property management companies do what we did, which was went from being a reactive company to a proactive company, being a company that was not making much profit to being a company that became profitable, to a company that was not sellable to a company that was sellable, all because we hired remote team members. And so we looked at the landscape and said, well, everybody else is doing it this way. Is there a better way? And so we built a marketplace, much like Upwork, if you're familiar out there, if you're listening. But we built a marketplace that is built niched down for the real estate and property management industry. So
Unbelievable.
we the old methodology was, hey, Mr. Property Manager, do you want me to find you a virtual assistant? Pay me some money. I have a company in Mexico. I'll find somebody. I'll hire them and I'll rent them out to you. Our model is more of a direct hire model. So you can do it yourself, right? And you can find people. We have training on the platform. We have resources for property managers, real estate folks on the platform. So you can find people. You can then use the certifications to kind of weed people out, and then you interview them, and then you find them and you pay them all along our platform. It's a direct hire model. They work directly for you and you pay them, and VPM is the middleman, and we make 10% from the contractor, not from the company. So it's completely a different model, and it served us well. We went live with the product in 21, and we just we're recording this in April of 2025, so we'll be 4 years in June, and we just hit over 1,200 people on the platform as far as having jobs on the platform. So we're pretty excited with that.
That's that's unbelievable. That's beautiful. No, thank you for this long story. This is great. And then then basically the core mission to VPM Solution
Yeah, so our
is
mission, we have a two-sided mission because we have when you run a two-sided marketplace, much like a property manager, you have two clients, right? You have, as a property manager, I have the investor client who owns the home, and I have the
yeah,
renter who lives in a home. With the marketplace, we have the company who is looking to reduce costs and find great people, and then we have people that are looking to, like, literally change their life, right? Change their history. So our mission is to pull people out of poverty in second and third world countries by getting them paid just a little bit more than what they could get locally for companies in the US. And then the other mission is to help struggling businesses in the US find great people, thus having the company, instead of the company owning you or the business owning you, you own the business, and to get you become profitable and proactive instead of reactive, and to level up and end up becoming a business owner instead of a property manager. So it's a long-winded
yeah,
way of
yeah,
saying we have two missions that we're trying to accomplish.
yeah. That's great. And what sets you apart from traditional staffing or freelancer platform?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different models with freelancing. The first model is the old school. I call it the cab company, right? I call us Uber, and I call the old school company the cabs company, right? The taxi company. The old school method used to be, well, I have a company in enter country name, Mexico, El Salvador, Philippines, and I'm going to hire people to work for my company. And then I'm going to go out and and Laurent, you're looking for a person. I will find that person. You'll pay me a bunch of money. I'll go find that person. So I'm going to go recruit for you. I'm going to hire that person. They're going to work for me, but I'm going to charge you an amount. And don't worry what the person's making. Just worry about paying me. Right. So I may charge you $15 an hour, but I'm paying somebody $4 an hour, and I'm getting the difference. Right. This method is, a couple of things are wrong with this method. One, you're paying a lot of money up front as a finder's fee, right? Up to $4,000 or $5,000. The second challenge is it takes a long time, right? I'm not going to put somebody on my pay staff on my staff and pay them until I recruit. So so when you give me the job description, then I start the recruiting efforts, and I could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months to find somebody. Then I only give you 2 or 3 options. Take one of these three. If you don't like it, okay, but it's going to take me another 2 months to find somebody. So and then of course you then pay a lot more, and the contractor, or in this case the employee, gets paid a lot less, and the middleman takes anywhere from 40 to 60%. So that's the first thing. So our model is completely different, right? It's a DIY model, or we do it with you. There's free. There's 40,000 people looking for work right then and there, and you can find them, hire them, and within minutes in theory, right? The other model is the Upwork model, right? Or Fiverr is another big one. And what this model is, like, they have a bunch of people, um, but they're agnostic, meaning, like, they hire anyone for anyone for anyone, right? So it's a pool of, it's almost overwhelming, right? It's a pool of too many people. The interface isn't super simple to get through, and it's hard to find somebody. Because we're niche down to property management and real estate, we can train people, right? So we have like 45 courses of training for property management, real estate, or even vendors, that like applications that are used in the industry. We have courses, and we have tests, exams, and then they can test out and get a VPM certification. We have disc profiling. So we have literally job descriptions and templates of job descriptions. We have recommended KPIs and disc profile for each job role. So we've taken the easy button, and we've given you basically our hiring process and literally put it inside the platform. So those are the two models. And then the third one is, you know, like Deal is out there, and like they have like employee of record, and that gets pretty expensive when you have employees of record. So if you want a direct contract, a direct hire contract model, then our model is similar to Upwork, and I would say that it's for our industry. There's no reason to go to Upwork. Just come to VPM.
That's some That's very interesting. Um, yeah, moving on to trends. If you got a, I mean, you've got a great vantage point in prop tech and property management world, especially when it comes to teams, tech, and talent. What trends are you seeing in how property management firms are evolving?
Yeah, I would say the big trend right now, obviously, is AI. Right, that's the talk all over the world. But I'll just go back. Right, so uh, about I would say now probably about 7, 8 years, right before the pandemic, remote team was really big. It was starting to really ramp up, meaning I can find somebody, to in Mexico or El Salvador or Philippines for a fraction of the cost of somebody in the US, and I could get a higher educated person who sees this as a career. The trend originally was, I'm just going to give these people a list of items to do. Then it went to, I'm going to give them a whole process to run. And now I'm seeing the trend is, actually, I have managers, supervisors, and even C-suite people that get hired remotely. So the trend in the remote has gone from, you only do a couple of tasks, to you actually manage people, and you have a big say in the organization. On the other side of things, like, so that's people, right? The next thing is
Yeah.
the the application or the technology in property management is completely different from when I entered it back in 2012. Like, and the big one now, so over the last couple of years, automation has become a very big buzzword in property management specifically. And we have to do the same thing over and over, right? A lease renewal for one property is the same as a lease renewal for another property. A move in is the same thing as a move in, right? How we handle a maintenance tech, how we handle a turn. And so these companies out there like Lead Simple and Aptly have created automation for the property management industry, where previously there was no automation, or you had to use something that was out of the box like Process Street, and then you had to find a Process Street developer to then develop it. I actually used HubSpot, which I know everybody knows it as a CRM system, but we were able to bastardize HubSpot somehow and build a ticketing system and build automation for our property management. But it cost me thousands of dollars to do this. You can buy Lead Simple out of the box. It'll do like 65, 75% of what you need. And you don't even have to hire a developer. You can hire somebody to can learn Lead Simple. You can hire a virtual assistant, send them to Lead Simple kind of training, and they can actually build your process for you. So they've taken all that hard work and they've dumbed it down at a fraction of the cost. And now you're starting to see a lot of venture backed companies into our industry. So most of the companies in the past were bootstrappers, ex property managers that sold and created something much like me. But now you're starting to see a lot of these VC private equity backed companies that are using AI to leverage property management. So how do so AI in maintenance is the one that's happening a lot right now, and now you're starting to see AI in leasing. The challenge that the AI companies have is like they have to train, right? You have to like train people and like get them to understand and trust AI. And then the other challenge is property management firms are owned by people like me. And what I mean by that is old people. The average age of a property manager and a property management company owner is in their 50s. A lot of these people are looking at AI as they're resistant to it, not open arms. But they were also resistant to automation. They were also resistant to virtual
Yeah.
assistants, and it comes around. So AI is going to take about a year or two to penetrate the property, in my estimation. There's going to be some early adopters, right? But most of these guys are going to be laggards, and it'll take a couple of years. And I think the technology right now in AI, I think it needs a few more. I think it needs to get a little better. And of course, people can they can argue with me on that one, but that's what's happening right now. That's the trend right now. The other trend is that for a while there, a lot of VC companies were coming in and buying property management firms, and that has slowed down in the last year or two. Obviously, mainly because of interest rates here in the U.S. So, so now you're seeing people who wanted to sell that are stuck, that have to run their business effectively until companies come back and start buying again. And you're seeing less people wanting to buy. So your management firm, I don't believe at the height in, when I sold in 19 to around 2022, um, I was seeing anywhere from 1.5 to 2x of top line revenue. And now I think you're seeing 1.25 to 1.5 of top line revenue, meaning less buyers out there, so less competition. So your property management firm is not valued as high as it once was. So those are all the trends that I'm seeing in property management.
That makes a lot of sense. Um, do you do you think prop tech is still under innovated in certain areas? As you mentioned, that AI is still maybe a little bit early, and in 1 year it's going to be more into, but innovation maybe
Yeah,
under
I
innovated
mean,
in certain areas.
I got to be honest with you, like, property to me is property. Property is property. Data is, and there's only so much data you can have on rent and price per square foot and all this stuff. And there's so many companies out there now that have all this great data. And who knew about self showings and all this automation. But
Yeah.
leave it to people to come up with even better, more efficient ways to do things, whether they're utilizing AI or not. So I don't think prop tech is going anywhere. I think if anything, it's just going to keep going. Especially there's a lot of incentives to start a prop tech company, get it going, because the valuations of a prop tech company, my understanding, is still anywhere from 6 to 17 times revenue. And if that is the case, then I'd rather start a prop tech company than a property management firm that's going to sell at
Yeah,
1.25 times revenue.
that's right. That's right. Um,
And
that's
to be
very
quite
interesting.
clear,
Let's
I used to think I was
please.
prop tech, but I think the more I look at my business, even though I service the property, the properties, property management, real estate, and the real estate industry, uh, the more research I'm doing is I think I'm leaning towards I'm HR tech.
Yeah, I mean, your HR. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, your
Because
job
we're dealing with
board.
people, right? We're dealing with payments and people and training.
Yeah,
We're just because we're niched in real estate, I don't know if I'm prop tech or HR tech. So I'm still trying to figure that out. So
yeah, it's in the middle. It's like a mortgage company. Are they fintech or a prop tech?
yeah, that's good. That's a great analogy.
Yeah. Um, let's shift gear and talk challenges, and because every founders, every operators is dealing with them, whether it is about scaling, regulation, or team dynamics. What are the biggest challenges you are currently navigating as a business leader?
All right. So I'm going to give you ones that when I first started the company, what the biggest challenges are, and then I'm going to give you ones that I'm dealing with today. So the first when I first started this company, the challenge was I was a 50-year-old man doing a tech startup that does not know how to develop. So I'm not a developer. So that was a huge challenge for us because we had to find the right developers. And I can tell you the first year we were in business, we started in February of 2020. And by September of 2020, I burned through $150,000 and we didn't have one piece of development that we could use. So that was a huge challenge. Also, I thought I was the investor, not the CEO. And because I was working still for the company that purchased me, I didn't have my eye on the ball. And when I got to the meeting and I said, "What the hell's going on? Where's all my money? Who's responsible?" And everybody basically looked at me and said, "Well, you're responsible. You're the CEO." And I said, "I am." So that was a huge challenge. So and then getting funding the startup, and dealing with the other investors, um, that or the other founders, I should say, was a huge challenge. Um, then the challenge became marketing. How do we get our name out? How do we get more leads? How do we grow this thing? And that to me is always going to be a challenge. We never grow the way we want. So today my you know my challenges are a little bit different. I think we have the people thing kind of figured out, which is good because we're a recruiting firm. So we have really good team. We got great. I spent a lot of time and effort on building core values and culture. As a CEO, I think that is your number one job as a CEO: strategy and culture. What we're struggling with today is growth, right? We're not growing the way we want to. We haven't really have our sales process really finalized yet. We're still kind of figuring that out. And then development. All right, we are at the end of the day we are a marketing firm and a development firm, and the development
Yeah,
is happening, but it's happening too slow. I'm not able uh, to invest in more developers to get more things done. We don't have, so we're trying to level up on the development side. I'd say those are the two big things that we're dealing with today.
yeah, yeah. That's important, and yeah, marketing, of course, it's always we can always improve. We always need more leads, that's for sure. Um,
Yeah, I'll even drill down a little bit more, right? So my two of my co-founders own a marketing firm. Okay. So we can get all the marketing done. The challenge is we didn't have a strategist, right? So we would check the
yeah,
boxes. Hey, we need a webinar. All right, here's a webinar. Hey, we need 10 blogs. We need SEO. It would all get done, but there was no rhyme or reason to it. So we just hired a marketing strategist in January. And so his job is to build a user journey from point A to creating a profile on the platform. And he's done a wonderful job of building it out on paper, right? So now we have a plan on our strategy, but now we have to implement. So now this quarter and the next quarter is that's where all the hard work comes in. And so, this is going to be, I'm paying him decent money. We're we're still paying the marketing company as well. And we're probably not going to see any results probably until the end of the year. So so we're investing money with the intent of it paying off here in a few more months as we build it. And then once we build it, then it's just tweaking it. So hopefully when we do this
Yeah,
podcast next year, I tell you, oh, Laurent,
we
yeah,
will
we
do it
solved that
again.
challenge, and now
Exactly.
here's my next challenge, right? Because there's always a challenge. As you grow,
Of course.
there's always a fun
Yeah.
challenge. And that's why I love being a business owner.
Yeah, I mean it's passion. I mean this is great. I always having these objectives and trying to find a solution. That's what about it's that the challenge. Um, what what do you hear most often from your client in terms of pain points or bottlenecks?
Pain points that we solve, or pain points that they have with our software platform?
I mean on the clients the clients telling you yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I'll talk about like the pain points we solve first, because those are the easy ones, because we get a lot of people that come to our platform because they they want more control, right? By coming to our platform, they have a lot more control. They want speed. By coming to our platform, they can find people within minutes. Some people just create a profile on our platform just to take the training. Some people create a profile on a platform just to take the disc analysis. They like that we have people in multiple countries, and they like the fact that we have a payment system and that we have reporting. Those are all things that we solve, right? So we solve a lot of them on the front end. The challenge that our clients have is when they hire somebody, right? Then they don't know, how do I train them and how do I manage them? And that's not really in our purview right now. We don't help you train other than creating training courses. But I can
Mhm.
give you course after course after course on property management in the United States. And we have 12 courses, 9 hours of content. And that is going to get you to that's going to get you to start line. I can't keep somebody and hire them in your particular company, and they know how to use your policies, your processes, your applications, your culture. That is up to you. So that's a big challenge for us, because if somebody makes a sorry about that, cut that. If somebody makes a bad hire, then and it's their first remote team member, then they go to this doesn't work. Virtual assistants doesn't work. So we have to do a better job on the front end, to educate the hiring manager or the company owner about how to train a person. And people want
Makes sense.
the other thing is, like, people want easy. They want the easy button, but there is no easy when training somebody. You just have to do it, right? Whether you have to build a whole training component in your company, or you have to do a monkey see, monkey do. It's just not easy bringing somebody in and getting them to run, right? The second challenge is they don't know how to manage people, right? And so I think there's three ways to manage people. One is one on one extreme, you have the micromanager, and I want to report every day on what you did. I want to put screen capturing software on your computer so I can see everything where you're going. I want you to clock in and clock out every time you go to the restroom. That's micromanagement. And nobody anywhere loves to be micromanaged. I don't care if you're in, Southern California, Houston, Texas, or Guadalajara. You don't want to be micromanaged, right? But they have no trust, especially if it's their first remote team member. There's zero trust. So they're scared that the contractor, remote team member, virtual assistant, whatever you want to call them, that they're quote unquote going to steal time, right? Which I find it quite so funny because you're paying this person anywhere from $6 to $10 US typically. Meanwhile, you have somebody that you're paying $80,000 a year to in your office. They come in late, they take long lunches, they hang out by the water cooler, they take cigarette breaks, and they leave early because their kid's got a baseball game. And you don't worry about that person, but you worry about the person that you're investing $6 an hour to. So I'm just not a big fan of that. On the other side of that, you have abdication. And abdication, it's different from delegation. It's like I'm so busy, I hired somebody, I throw up all over them on like, here's all the stuff that you need to do. I don't I don't manage them. I don't train them. I don't show them how to do anything. And then I expect them to do it just as good as me. I expect them to be a mind reader. And then I tell people, oh yeah, I'm not a micromanager, right? And you're proud of yourself. And what happens there is obviously they're not mind readers. They have no direction. They don't know what to do. Your job description is probably terrible. You just gave them a bunch of stuff. They're trying to figure it out. And then you're like, oh, that doesn't work. And then in the middle, you have delegation and management. And delegation is, excuse me, delegation is I'm going to train you. I'm going to spend a lot of time with you for the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it takes. I'm going to make sure you understand what the objectives are. I'm going to give you key performance indicators, and I'm going to train you, and you're going to write your own manual. Even though I have a 100-page manual that you can read, no one reads it. So you're going to basically build a manual, and you're going to retrain me on how to do your job. And then we're going to manage you. And I'm going to meet with you weekly. And we're going to have an agenda on how we do that. And we're going to, look at what your KPIs are, what the tasks were from last week, and what the issues you're having. And me as the manager, owner, supervisor, my job is to give you the tools and get out of your way. My job is to ask you each week, what challenges are you having and how can I help you solve those challenges? What can I do to make your job easier? And then you also review the KPIs, and then you also ask them on a stress level on a scale of 1 to 10, what your stress level is. If it's a 10 plus, you got a challenge there. But having these daily meetings up front and then these weekly meetings with an agenda, because a lot of people say, oh, I have meetings, and then they have meetings and nothing gets accomplished. So the training and the management is two pieces where, as a company, as VPM, it's not something that we do. So we have to figure that out, whether we partner with somebody or whether we, hold courses or, we're trying to figure it out. We've got an account manager now that kind of guides companies. They can have meetings with me if they like. We're going to do an account manager on the remote, on the virtual assistant side, the remote team member side, to try to help them integrate into companies. So we're trying to figure that out. But, when we do that, we get away from our core mission, which is we are, a platform that connects people. Now we're becoming almost like coaches. And I don't want to get into that business model.
Okay. No, that's very 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 interesting. I'm learning a lot. Um, and if we move on and look ahead into 2025 and beyond, um, where do you see the biggest opportunities for VPM solution over the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, I think for us personally, I'm always I'm always a fan of let's just keep building the best product. So we're going to continue building a great product, and on our roadmap, short term is data. We want to be data driven. We want to be the leader in the property management space, especially on all things remote team. So, for example, what's the average annual salary? How many apps do you get? How long does it take to keep a job? To fill a job? How long do they stay on the job? So there's all of these data points that really nobody has, and for the industry that we will be able to have now that we have over 1,200 jobs on the platform. So that's the first thing we're working on. The next thing we're going to be working on, or in kind of in conjunction with that, is we're going to be working on AI. Shocker, right? Uh, if you're not working, if you look, you have to embrace this AI thing. If you're not, you're going to be left in behind, in my opinion. And so we're going to use AI. We're going to use AI in our recruiting service, our paid for recruiting service, kind of test it out there. And then eventually we'll do it into our do it with you service and then our do it yourself service. And we'll have basically an AI assistant that will help. And then the last piece of it is integrations. We want to integrate with all the different softwares out there. For example, like Time Doctor, if somebody really does want that and they want to take screenshots, or like QuickBooks, right? So you pay people through our platform, and then it gets automatically put into your QuickBooks as a transaction, like Zoom, right? So you can just literally just have your link right there, and have this kind of conversation, interview with somebody. So we think those are the next big plays that we have to go out there. So just keep making the product bigger. And for us, we believe like we're really entrenched in property management, single family property management, but there's a lot of other verticals inside of that. There's homeowner association property management, short-term property management, multifamily property management. So for us personally, outside of building this great product, is offering the product and getting out there to other verticals in the space and staying niched into real estate, but expanding our niche in single family management to other verticals.
Yeah, well, it's very well described. Then new features, um, new new verticals, new markets, maybe any or new partnership, maybe.
Partnerships for sure. I don't know about markets. We're in the US and Canada right now. Um, we're looking at Australia as a market because it's a pretty big property management country, and they do use
Yeah,
virtual assistants mainly in the Philippines. So that's something we've been eyeing. But honestly, there's so much to do inside the product there, and the United States and Canada is such a huge market that
yeah, yeah.
for us, we're not trying to be $1 billion company. That's not our vision. So we're not venture backed. We're bootstrapped. So growth can come secondary to profit. Growth can come secondary to product development. So we don't. So we're gonna build, and we're gonna have fun. Like I like to have fun. My first company, I didn't
Yeah.
have a lot of fun. This company, I'm having a lot more fun. And I build stuff because I, as a property manager, would like it. I, as a business owner, like to do it. So I don't actually. It's kind of interesting because most people will tell you you should survey all your clients, you should find out what they want, and then you should build it. I think that people don't know what they actually want. If
Yeah.
Henry Ford, he said
Most of the time, yeah.
if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse and carriage, right?
Yeah.
He built the car, right? So I just don't know if people actually know. Like, if I would ask people what do they want, they never would have came up with a marketplace for that's 150 countries that helps me hire. Like, they never would have figured. They never would have thought about that. So I think you build it. People will be like, if it's something that they need, they'll utilize. And we're not tone deaf to our clients, but we definitely have a really good pulse on what it is and how we would use it if we were property managers, and we're building it for them.
Yeah, and then what's your what's the bigger vision you're working towards?
Yeah, our vision is
or
5,000.
thinking or think or
Our,
thinking.
our, our BHAG, our BHAG goal is 5,000 people on the platform, which sounds kind of small when you think about it. But I want to get to the point where people in our industry do not need a recruiter. Like, I want to get rid of the recruiters. Like, there's no need to hire somebody to go find somebody. I want to make my product so simple. You can get on it, you can find somebody, you can train them, you can find the right fit in attitude. You can find the right fit in personality profile. You can find the right fit in certifications. You can find the right fit in what they're looking for as far as hourly rate, and you can hire them and pay them all without having to talk to somebody other than the people that you're, with no recruiter. So that's our big vision, is to literally just have it to the point where the platform is so easy to use, and it's so good at what it does that you don't need to hire recruiters.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about leadership, and you have helped shape not just a company but a whole way of thinking about work in PropTech. And what kind of impact do you hope VPM solution has on the industry?
Well, that's a great question. Let me think about that a second. Um, I would like to think that the impact we have is that people in the industry find out how great. Like, I want to make it easier on people, on companies, to find great workers at a fraction of the cost that would cost in the US. So I want people to be able to save tons of money, be profitable, and level up. Because right now there is too many people who own a property management firm where their margins are so thin if they're making any money at all, and they are wearing too many hats. And so if somebody came to me and said, "Man, Pete, because of your platform, I was able to hire some great people." By the way, that's on them. If they hire great people, that's them, not us that did it. We just had the connector. And then I was able to take the hat of accounting off and the hat of property manager off and the hat of marketing off. And I was able to give it to all these people. And now I only wear one hat, CEO. Like that, I think that'd be awesome. That would be a great, a great thing to hear about from people.
Great answer. Great answer. Um, what advice would you give to leaders trying to adapt to this new way of building teams?
Well, are you talking about leaders that want to create prop tech, or are you talking about leaders in
Yeah,
the property
yeah.
management industry?
I mean, your clients, leaders in being your client, trying to build a team, whatever industry.
Yeah. All right. So, well, regardless, if you want to build any kind of team, I am a huge fan of attitude over skill. There's a great book called Hiring for Attitude by Mark. It'll come to me. It'll come to me, but it's called Hiring for Attitude. And in this book, he had done a huge study, and the study showed that over 50, he studied all these HR companies and the HR team inside these companies, and he found out why people didn't work out. And the number one reason why people didn't work out was attitude over skill, right? And so I'm a huge fan. If you're going to start a company, or if you have a company right now, and it sounds hokey pokey, but if you do not have core values written down and pushed down from top down, you have core values. They may not be the ones you want. The core values then come from the team and get pushed up, right? And so you have to determine, who do you want on the proverbial boat, right? Who do you want in your company? And so for us, it starts with core values, and then that's the type of people we look for, right? Like, and then you have an underlying culture on top of that, right? So at VPM, our core values, we have it as an acronym, WHIP, right? W is wow. We want to give customers a wow experience. I is innovative. We are innovative. The two P's are, we're positive, we live above the line, and we're passionate. We love what we do. And so those are people we're looking for, right? So when I interview somebody and they just want a job because it's a job, and they're not passionate about customer service, and they're coming to try to get a customer service job, you don't you're not going to get hired. If I'm looking for a developer and he's not innovative, you're not going to get hired. The other sub factor that we have is that we're data driven. We manage by measurements and by metrics, not by feeling. And by the way, we also make fun of people. We make fun of each other. Like people, like my VAs in the Philippines make fun of me. If you don't have thick skin, you cannot work here. Now that's not in our core values, but that's in our subculture. And so I'll make fun of people right there in the interview to see how they react. And if they get offended, they're out. I don't need anybody who gets offended easily in this company, because that's not the culture that we want to live by. So the number one thing when you are looking to build your business, you have to get the right people. All a business is a collection of individuals that work together as a team to achieve a common goal. That's all it is, right? So if you have the wrong people, then you're never going to go anywhere. And especially if you're a service-based business, you're only as good as your people. So the second piece of that is you should have an org chart. Even if you're a solopreneur, you have to have an org chart. What are all the roles that you are doing? And it should be in an org chart. And you should basically have your name in every box, right? And then you should basically determine what the next 5 positions are going to be. And as you grow in revenue, you hire those positions. And so you have an org chart of what it looks like today, what it looks like a year from now, and what it looks like when your company is finished. Right. So what does the org chart look like 20 years from now when you hit that great BHAG or that vision that you want? Next thing is every role should have a job description. Even if you're doing them all, they should have a job description, because you need to know when you hire somebody what that role is. And each job description should have a key performance indicator and a DISC personality associated with it, or Myers-Briggs, whatever personality you use. Right. Once you have this structure in place, now you can hire the right person, attitude, core values. You know, the instruction of, like, let's put them, you hire, I'm going to use the boat as an example. Okay. To get a ticket on the boat, you have to pass the core values. Boom, you're on the boat. All right. Now I'm going to give you instructions on how to use the seat. Right. So there you go. That's your job description. Now I'm going to make sure, based on your profile, if you are in the right seat. Got it. You're in the profile. Here's the right seat. Here's the instructions to the seat. And now I'm going to teach you which way to row. That's your key performance indicator. If you do all of that, I promise you, your company will grow without a lot of chaos. Sorry about that. Without a lot of chaos, and without a lot of challenges inside the organization. As far as people challenges, you're always going to have them, but you can minimize them. So that's kind of my blueprint on hiring folks.
I love it. I love it. I took notes. And what's that's a last one. What's one mindset shift you had to take, or you had to make as a founder that helped you grow?
Yeah, I would say
Mindset.
I live above the line, right? So there's this old business, slide. It's got the line, and above it, it's got victim. Below it, it's got I'm sorry, above it, you got victor. Below it's got victim. Above it, there's acronym OAR, or row yourself out of problem. O is ownership, A is accountability, R is responsibility. On the bottom, the victimhood, you're in bed, you're sleeping, you're not solving the problem, blame, excuse, denial. And my biggest mindset is I try to look, we all go below the line. There are times when we go below the line, blame, excuse, denial. You want to pout, whatever it is. My biggest mindset was understanding that and then redirecting and going above the line as quickly as possible. Some people live below the line their whole life. Some people live below the line for a month. Some people live below the line for a week. I live below the line within minutes now, maybe an hour or two at the worst. But that was my biggest mindset, and that's the positive in our core values. And believe me, by nature, I'm not a positive person. So that was
Oh,
really big for me. And I was able to, that was the biggest mindset. And, look, the, the company takes on the personality of the CEO. So if I'm above the line, guess what happens to the team? They all become above the line. And when you're above the line, you solve challenges very quickly. The other thing that we do is we at VPM, we solve challenges very quickly, very quickly. Like if an issue comes up, not only do we solve the issue at that time, but we solve the root cause of the issue. So it's done and dusted, as my buddy Leon would say.
Fantastic. That's great. Pete, it has been awesome. I really appreciate how open you've been, and it's clear you're not only just building a platform, but helping reshape how this industry work. And any uh, any final thoughts you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I just think if you're listening
We
to
went through.
this, yeah, I think if you're just listening to this and maybe you are thinking of creating a prop tech company, you're not sure. I would say that, and if you don't have any money, right? Like my last parting words is, if you don't need the money, don't take it. You have way more control and you have a lot more fun. If you need the money, got it, understand. But if you think you have a really, really great idea, then go for it. That's all I'll say is go for it. Life is too short to sit in a job that you hate. So, but
E-
don't quit and then come up
Exactly.
with an idea.
That's wonderful. Where's the best place for people to connect with you and learn more about VPM Solutions?
Yeah, go to our website, vpmsolutions.com, or you can email me. I'm old school. I actually listen. I read all my email. I don't have an assistant that does that. So I run my own email box. It's Pete at Empire, my last Pete at vpmsolutions.com. And then I think I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Fantastic, fantastic. So thanks again, Pete. It has been a real pleasure having you on the AI Interconnect podcast. Looking forward to seeing you and seeing what next for you and VPN Solution. Maybe we take an appointment for another podcast in a year from now. And for our listener, stay hungry, stay foolish. And thank you, Pete. That was
Thank you for
great.
having me.
Thank you very much. Okay.